Hey everybody, this is Mr. Munson, and just a real quick video to kind of go over a couple of things that you might have missed in class that are kind of important. One is that you have a quiz coming up on Monday or Tuesday, depending on what day class you have. And the other thing is how to write certain notation in a very standard way for my class. And so I don't want you to lose points when you know the information, you understand the geometry, but you're just not writing the notation correctly. So I'm going to go through a couple of quick problems with you just to solidify these ideas. And they come from a concept 5. And so let's just first of all review real quick with you what you should be doing to prepare for this quiz on Monday or Tuesday. First of all, make sure you pull out your student learning map. So the sections that you're going to be working with on this quiz is 1 through 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so we've done problems in our packet on these. So you just pull out your packet and you can look at the problems as we've done in class and maybe do more of them, just kind of solidify, do you really understand them? Checking your answers in the back. What if you were to do something different second quarter in a positive direction than what you did first quarter? Imagine if you flipped the script. And again, I'm not talking to everybody. I think a good chunk of you are doing fantastically fine. But I'm talking to the few that tried to do it their way first quarter and it didn't work. And so I'm saying maybe it's time to flip the script, to have a strong story, not a weak story. And you're going to do that by doing the activity that creates a strong story. So the strong story is that you don't fail this test or quiz. You simply show that you understand it and that you've studied for it. So take a look at those I can statements. Make sure you understand what to do. Um, so it's just those sections. You don't have to worry about these sections on Monday or Tuesday. The next thing that you probably want to do is go through your vocabulary words. If you did not do these already, then I would suggest that you go and do them. Um, this is something that I'm going to call you out on the quiz, and I would make sure that you understand where the leg and the base angles and all that stuff is. But with that said, there's several pages to this, and there's a video that I posted on my YouTube page telling you how to read about this. So suppose you were to do something different. Suppose you were to actually just spend maybe 10, 15 minutes, maybe, going through these vocabulary words, confirming that you understand what they are. Okay. Now this is a 5.6 section here. This is the shortcuts, and you don't need to worry about this section. This section is not on this quiz. So this is kind of a 5.5 idea here. How to draw these triangles congruent. They don't have to look congruent. They just need to be marked congruent. I might give you the triangles and then you're to put the marks in appropriate places. Or I might just give you that congruent statement and say, draw the triangles and mark it up. It's how you mark it up that's going to be very important that you do it the way I'm telling you to. So the first thing, if I give you the triangles or not, right, you're going to have two triangles. So let's start with triangle ABC and then triangle EPG. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to angle A and I'm going to put a single strike in there showing that that's going to be congruent to angle E. So there we go. Now I'm going to make this a little bit more interesting. I'm going to actually take this side and I'm just going to put it maybe out of order. Way if it was given to you out of order, you wouldn't be fretting over that. Okay, so again, I would mark that angle congruent. Now suppose I go to B and I put two strikes there, and I'll go to P here and put two strikes here. These angles are congruent because of this congruent statement. And then C, of course, has to be congruent to it. Last one has to be congruent to the other last one over here. Cool. So that's the first thing you're going to do. You're going to mark the angles congruent. Now, according to the congruent statement, segment AB is congruent to segment EP. Okay, so now I could just go through each set of segments and mark it up. I find that difficult, or at least increasing the likelihood that I make a mistake. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my drawing here, and where this angle is marked with a single struck, I'm going to go to the side opposite and mark it with a single struck. Then I'm going to go to the angle with a double struck, and I'll mark the side across from it as a double struck, and then so on with the 3 strikes. Then when I go over to the other triangle, I'm going to do that same thing. And now your drawing will look like my drawing, and you'll get 100% of the points. But more importantly, you have marked it so that the things that are supposed to be congruent will be congruent. So here's AC. AC, according to our picture, is congruent to EG. AC is congruent to EG. So if you take a look at our letters up here, AC is congruent to EG, just like I anticipated. Okay? All right. So I'm going to give you another one, another congruent statement. I want you to just build the triangles and mark them in this reference. Just kind of solidify in your brain how to do it. So how about triangle CAT is congruent to triangle DOG. But this time, I'm going to give you the 2 triangles. I'm going to put, there's one triangle. I'm going to do this one here. And I'm just going to start you off with a C here and a D here. Now you go ahead and label it however you like. Then go ahead and make the marks correctly. Put me on pause, come back and check your work. And there you have it. Now, you might have put your O and the G different places. You might have put them in a different spot. But this is what should be true. Wherever you have the G, it should be struck with 3 strikes. And in between the segment or the segment OD or between the points O and D, you should have a 3-segment bar. Okay, so if you put this button down here, that still would be the truth. Okay, so take a look. I'm not saying it had to be on top. If you put O down here at the bottom, it would be over on this side. Okay, but it should have this marks in the same relative spot. Between O and D is this. Between D and G are the 2 strikes, and between G and O is the single strike. And then your angle D should be single struck, your O should be double struck, and so on. And this goes true for the CAT triangle. All right, suppose these triangles are congruent. Okay, so I need you to write a congruent statement. To do that, you're going to basically follow this template, right? You're going to write the name of a triangle, and then write the congruent symbol, then write the name of another triangle. Now, this is important. This very first one has to be in alphabetical order. Okay, so let's just look at PAT. Now, it'd be fun to write the word PAT, Pat, or whatever, but that's not in alphabetical order. So I'm going to go APT. So we always write this very first triangle when we're naming triangle in this kind of statement, this congruent statement. We always write that one in alphabetical order. If you don't do that, you're going to lose points, and it'll be either partial points or all the points depending on the problem. So now what we're going to do is we're going to write the triangle name over here that matches up. Now I find it easier to know what angles are congruent, right? So I can see AP, the first 2 letters here, side AP is congruent to BC. I could write BC and then so on, right? So I'm not sure if it's CB or BC that the points make reference to. So I'm just going to pause on this second. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to my drawing up here, my first one. I'm going to mark the angle. So I'm going to go to the angle that's across from the single struck, do that one, across from the double struck, do that one, and then triple struck. And I'm going to do that same thing over in this other triangle. Now it becomes really obvious. When I look at the triangle APT, I know that the angle A has to correspond to angle B. So it should be B here. And then P, double struck angle, corresponds to C. And then finally that leaves me L to correspond to T. Okay? All right, I'm going to give you one, ask you to put it on pause, see if you can check it, see how you do. All right, there's your problem there at the bottom. Put me on pause, come back and check your work. Remember that first triangle's sides should be in alphabetical order. All right, now this is on the left-hand side of this drawing, so we always start with the left-hand drawing, okay? So this would be A, B, D in alphabetical order, and then I'm going to correspond things. So angle A corresponds to angle C because they have the same marks, so I put C in this first spot. B corresponds to D in that triangle, so I'll put a D, and so on. That leaves me D and B on the other ones to correspond. And that's it. We're done. There's no do it problems or anything like that. This was just basically my gift to you about getting prepared for this quiz so that you can make second quarter a completely different quarter. Be proud of it. All right, take care. Do what others won't so you can have what others can't.